Let me guide you through some tests that I will do to show how difficult it is to really ignite R-32. To be able to make this test setup, I will use the standard bottle that every technician knows with some R-32. Then I will use the gauge manifold to be able to, as a matter of fact, control the flow of the R-32 that I will use for this test. And then, of course, I have a charging hose that I will use to actually guide my refrigerant towards my ignition source. Now, how actually can a flammable gas burn? Therefore, we require actually the fire triangle. The fire triangle is a simple triangle which will explain how actually a fire works. Therefore, you first of all require a fuel, you require an oxidant, and you require an ignition source. In our case, of course, the R-32 will be the fuel. We will use the oxygen out of the air as the oxidant, and then I will use this small tool. As a matter of fact, it's a safety igniter, which the service engineer will use in the field to ignite his acetylene torch when he needs something to braze. So when you slide it backward and forwards, simply it will make some sparks, and we will use these sparks to be able to try to ignite the R-32, as this is a common spark that will or can be created in the field. So I will take my hose, use some R-32, and I will try to ignite it. And as you can see, nothing really happens. Why it does not happen is due to the fact that we have some special conditions which will influence the fact if a flammable gas can burn. And first of all, the most important one is, as a matter of fact, the flammable limits. The flammable limits, as a matter of fact, are the limits in which a flammable gas can actually burn. Of course, mixed with oxygen. In the table, you will see some common gases like hydrogen. I think everybody remembers the Hindenburg. Somewhere you have seen it in your life on television, where in 1 minute time, this complete huge Zeppelin was completely destroyed by the fire because hydrogen is highly flammable. We also know isobutane, something that you use at home when you want to make some or prepare some food. By a small spark, you can ignite it and you can prepare a food. Another common gas, which is usually for the service engineers, is acetylene, which they will use for making brazing in the field. Also, this has a very, very wide range of flammable limits. But if you now look at R-32 at the bottom, there we will see that we have a very low flammable, the low flammable limit is at least 14%, while the high flammable limit is 31%. So the borderlines are completely different than the other flammable gases that we are used to work with. In the graph, there you can see it more clearly. When we don't have enough refrigerant, meaning we are below the low flammable limit, then we are calling this mixture too lean, meaning there is too less fuel to be able to make it burn. If it becomes rich, on the other hand, then we have too less oxygen. Then it cannot burn as well. So it will be important for me, if I want to be able to ignite the R-32, that I'm in the correct mixture, meaning between the low and the high flammable limit. Another item that is very important to be able to ignite any flammable gas, this is the ignition energy. We call this the minimum ignition energy that is required to be able to ignite a flammable gas. In the table, you can again see the different flammable gases I just mentioned, but if you look at R-32, we clearly see that the ignition energy is quite high. It's between 50 and 30 millijoules. In the graph on the right side, you see a blue and a red line. The blue line is between the low flammable limit and the high flammable limit, and the red line is the ignition energy which is required to actually ignite the mixture. You see the stoichiometric line, this is in the center. This is the most optimum mix between oxygen and the fuel. And there you also see that the red line is the lowest. This means that you at that time require the lowest ignition energy. But for us, the field engineer, we will always be confronted on the left side of the graph. Why? Because the fact that the low flammable limit is so high, this is the first one that we will be able to reach. And if you look at the red line, there you will definitely see it becomes very high. So now I'm going to do a next test. And for this, I will use a candle. Why a candle? It's not to make this test more romantic, but it's because it's the most easy ignition source that I can use. I can simply light it up and try to ignite the R-32. But keep in mind, never try this at home. I will take, first I will light the candle. voila, candle is burning. I will take some R-32 again. And I will try to ignite it. Oh, didn't work. Try again. Try to use less refrigerant this time. Try it again. Oh, it didn't work as well. As a matter of fact, now we're facing another problem if you want to ignite R-32. The problem I'm facing here now is that to be able to ignite a flammable gas, the speed of the gas must be lower than 3 times the burning speed of the gas itself. So for R-32, this is 6.8 centimeters per second. This means in total, I have to have a flow which must be lower than 20 centimeters per second, which is quite low. So I will try again. Ignite the candle, of course, first. Otherwise, I have no ignition source. Put the candle here. Now, this is not so easy because the flow must be really, really, really low. Still too high, still too high. Okay, I'm going to try this one. Oh, now it burns. Oh, no, it burns not anymore. Oh, now it burns again. And now it does not burn anymore. Again. Oh, and it stops again. So it seems if I want to actually burn R-32, I need a constant energy source. If this constant energy source is not there, it simply doesn't burn. So first, we need to have a very, very low flow, a very high ignition source, and we need the ignition source all the time to be able to ignite the R-32. Otherwise, it's simply not possible. So, Anthony, what do you think about the myth?
Yeah, looks great.
So, is it busted or is it approved?
I think it has been busted.
I think too so. Okay, Anthony, see you later. Bye.